Megan Brotherton from Safe Communities Foundation. Safe Community Concept is an internationally recognised evidence-based best practice model for addressing community safety issues at a local level. Come to Melbourne via Adelaide on the bus.
Okay, I'm just going to plug it in so I won't start. Oh, I could, because I'll get much longer then. So I'm going to say, going last, I'm probably going to cover lots of the things that have already been said. We're going to talk a little bit about the Australian Safe Communities Foundation and our relatively new process around Pan-Pacific designation. But I guess I wanted to start, and whilst the picture won't be up there, I'll talk. I've stolen an African proverb, which is if you want to go fast, go alone, and if you want to go far, go together. And I think that's really good and really recognises, I guess, the Safe Communities concept about working in collaboration. So, okay. So the Australian Safe Communities Foundation was established in 2004. So as Mark suggested earlier, he invented the Victorian Safe Communities Network probably 96 or 94.
96.
And I chose this version of the Australian map because it doesn't have the borders on it. All right. So when we started to establish the foundation, it was very much a state v state, or the people that were trying to set it up said, well, it's not that state, it's the national foundation, and people actually struggled with that concept, so I chose that one specifically. So we're a not-for-profit. We have, I guess, sister organisations across what is now the Pan-Pacific, so in the US, New Zealand and Canada. So for Canada, it used to be Safe Communities Foundation, but they've had a merger with a couple of other not-for-profits there, so they're now called Parachute, and we created the Pan-Pacific Network. Everest, so for some people who understand the WHO and the Collaborating Centre, this is how most communities see it. It is the Everest. It's either too hard, too expensive, too complicated to actually get that international recognition. And it's probably been more complicated over the last few years. So we've taken the lead of our other sister organisations in the Pan-Pacific who have national recognition. We don't see it as a that one or the other. We actually see it as leading into the international. So I've decided we'll call it base camp. So you can get there, you can get the recognition, but it's your choice then whether you continue to the top for the international one. Alright, so anyway, now see some of my holiday snaps from the last few months. So there's lots of road signs and criteria and indicators and all those sorts of things in safe communities. Sometimes the signs don't, the direction isn't always where you think you're going to end up with safe communities or some of the projects. But I'll just go through some of the indicators. So the first one is leadership and collaboration. So these are now photos from Bangladesh. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world or where you have your meetings, as long as your community has that leadership around safety, that's the first indicator for what Pan-Pacific recognition. The next one is about priority setting, and that's demonstrating that you're targeting the high risk and vulnerable groups and gathering the local data. So this is a group that actually recognised young people being injured while mothers were busy doing the housework and those sorts of things. So they've created, I guess, what we call childcare within their community, where they're giving women the opportunity to be upskilled as well. This one, identifying, I guess, the issues in your area in Bangladesh. Drowning is one of the highest mortality rates for just above infancy, and so they've decided to educate their young people. They had an expert come in a number of years ago that they were telling me about, who came in for a conference and said, why don't you dispense all the ponds? If you've ever been to Asia and seen the amount of waterways, that was the expert version of what they should be doing. Their local solution is to educate and teach their young people how to swim. Data. So I don't want to hear anyone complaining in Victoria about not being able to access data with the Victorian Injury Surveillance Unit and those sorts of things. In Bangladesh, they go out and knock on doors every few months and ask. We've also got the issue of perception. This one was taken in New York on New Year's Eve. Does having that many police on the street can actually make you feel any safer? They actually made me probably more concerned about what was actually going on. I thought I'd missed something, but they were just getting prepared for the celebrations. So then it's looking at the programs that are suitable in your community, the range of programs, and Mark will love this one, with being the ergonomist and the workplace health and safety, which is my area as well. So it's looking at the programs that reach in your community. All right, and so they say that imitation is the highest form of flattery. There's nothing wrong with taking a program that works. Yeah, I know, there's my sense of humour. Nothing wrong with taking a program that already exists in another community and adapting it and adjusting it for your community. That's what the Australian Safe Communities Foundation has done, and our main income stream is through the Passport to Safety program. This is a Cuban cat. All right, so this is evaluation. It's enough to make anyone drink, I think. So, and people get quite scared about the evaluation part of it. And what we're saying is it doesn't have to be an academic evaluation, whilst we strongly support it. That's not a requirement of the Pan Pacific accreditation. The final indicator is around communication, sharing your story, the networks, coming to events like this, being involved in the VSCN, and learning from what other people are doing, as well as being involved in national and international programs. It's tiring. Safe communities is really tiring, and everyone will go through different phases, which is why someone was awake to take a photo of everyone else being safe. But that's part of the process, and particularly in terms of accreditation, people are worn out by the time they get there. But we recognise it's really important to have that collaboration, so you have the group where people can work off each other. Okay, so what do we get from Safe Communities? Well, for me, other than getting up at 4 a.m. today to come here, we get local solutions for local issues. Individuals have continued quality of life, or in these instances, improved quality of life. For the wider community, it's about a safer, more positive population, about greater perception. It's also about learning from others, and I think this one is around sometimes the smallest voice has the message that wants to be heard as well, and we need to listen to everyone in the community about what they have to say. And we heard about some of the processes that make that really complicated, so we need to think about how we get to hear those voices. This is one that we don't do so well, which is to actually celebrate, particularly the good things that we've done, and to share that. I guess we're quite laid back, you know, as Australians. I've just come back from the US, where they're very rah-rah about everything that they're doing around community safety, so we need to learn how to do that. And I'm going to invite everyone, seeing there's not so many, it's all right. Moonee Valley are going to be the first community in Australia to receive the Pan Pacific accreditation in 2 weeks. So I invite everyone to come along and to see and to celebrate with them and to learn about what they've actually done to achieve that. So.
Any questions for Megan? No questions?